welcome back to our channel. This is Shelf Possessed. I am David, and today I'm going to be showing and sharing with you all 10 books that I chose for Craig. So we both decided that we were going to each pick 10 books for each other, and then we would read a chapter, and then we kind of base our next month's reading on those 10 books. So without further ado, I'm going to share the books that I chose for Craig. Okay, so we're going to start off with book number 1, The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I think I bought this book for him a few months ago. He had talked a lot about wanting to read this book, and I just bought it for him. So I know he likes these kinds of books. He likes a lot of Greek history. I guess it's about Greek. I don't know. So I got that for him. So that's going to be the first book. So we'll see. We'll see if he likes that book or not. I'm going to combine books 2 and 3. Now, I think everybody knows about my love for Amy Gentry and for her books. I talked a lot about Last Woman Standing. I think it was in one of our first wrap-up videos. I had found this book and completely loved it. So I'm excited for him to read this book. The last book that he read was Good As Gone. It was on his TBR, and he finished that. He liked it, and I'm like, well, now you have to read Last Woman Standing. So this is probably one of my favorite books that I've read this year, and so I think that's going to go on my top 10 list, and I would really love for him to read this because it's one of my favorite books. It was also kind of like a premise and characters that I've never read about before, so that was highly interesting to me. So I'm gonna throw Amy Gentry's Last Woman Standing in there as well. Okay, so piggybacking off of Last Woman Standing, I'm going to throw in Amy Gentry's Bad Habits as well. I had finished this recently and completely loved it, and kind of read that back to back with Good As Gone, and just completely was floored by the characters, by the premise, and I think this is something that Craig would absolutely love. So I'm going to throw that one in there as well. Now, for our November wrap-up, the TBR book that I had on my list was The Return by Rachel Harrison. I absolutely love this book. I'm going to talk more about it in our wrap-up, but I really want him to read this. We do a lot of this when we read books. As soon as we're done with them, we want the other person to read it because it affects us so much. And I'm going to throw this one in there as well because I really want to talk to him about it. So so that's The Return by Rachel Harrison. The next one, oh my God. I think looking at this list of books, like I've read a lot of these, and now I just kind of want to go back and reread a lot of them. Oh my God. Lily King, Writers and Lovers, I think is crushing in a very good way. It deals with grief and what you do with that grief, how that grief kind of trickles into your personal life, into your work. This was very soul-crushing for me, but in the best way possible that really fantastic books should. I hope that this is not really a book that Craig tends to kind of want to jump into because of the heaviness of it, but I think with the heaviness of it, something beautiful and transformative happens to you as a reader once you're done with this book. So I always recommend this book to anybody who's kind of grieving from something or trying to deal with something that either a death of some kind. I think good books help you kind of do that if you cannot grieve in a certain way in your own life. That good books like that will help you do that. So my next book is a book that kind of started off kind of like this reading journey for me as a child. It's a book that I what no go shut the door. I'm doing the thing.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So, like I said before, I was rudely interrupted. This is what happens when you live in a very, very small house. There's not a lot of room. So anyway, I'm going to go back. So V.C. Andrews was the writer for me to kind of kick off my love of reading. I read this book at a very young age, and I don't think I fully understood the material until way later. But it was big, it was epic, it was gothic, and I know that Craig doesn't really like to go down those paths, but it's just I think he's read this a long time ago, but I think it always is great to do a second reading, especially of Flowers in the Attic. You kind of pick up a lot of things that you probably didn't pick up the first time. So that's going to be the lovely V.C. Andrews, Flowers in the Attic. The next book is a book that I've just finished just a few days ago that I loved. Is T.J. Klune's Under the Whispering Door. This was not on my TBR for November. I kind of picked this up as I was doing a buddy read with a friend, and I kind of dived deep into this and kind of just went full in on this book. There's some parts that I have problems with, but I think the ending was just kind of just magical and just a beautiful experience. Another book about death and grief and how we kind of tend to process that. I don't necessarily think that Craig is going to choose this book because of the heavy material, but it's just a very magical and beautiful book, and a lot of fantasy elements that I hope he loves. He's not really too big into fantasy, so I don't know. We'll see, but I really do hope he reads this book because I think Craig and I kind of process grief in the same way, and I think reading this book along with Lily King's maybe a little bit too much, but I think like I said before, good books about grief kind of help you kind of exercise those feelings. Okay. Another book that I finished recently, again, was not on my TBR, but it kind of came in the mail, and I was like, well, I guess I'll just read it. But that is In My Dreams, I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. Craig really does love thrillers. He's not really so much into kind of like the gory kind of material, but this is the kind of book that he kind of loves. I was going to DNF this book more than a couple of times reading it, but I'm glad that I didn't, because once I got to the ending, it was just a big, just mic drop, huge twist at the very end that I was not expecting, and it's very rare for books to do that for me. So I'm excited to see what he thinks about this book and with those kind of twists and turns that the book kind of makes. So that's Ashley Winstead's In My Dreams, I Hold a Knife. All right, so my 9th book that I chose for Craig is May Cobb's The Hunting Wives. This is a book that we have a lot of books on our bookshelves that we kind of buy and we kind of leave there, and they kind of just beckon us as we kind of walk by, and it's like, I have to get to that sooner or later. And I think, everybody has read this book. People have loved this book. I have not read this yet either. So I'm like, well, we might as well, the time is now to kind of do that. So I'm going to throw in The Hunting Wives. I think Craig is a big lover of the Housewives franchise, and I get a lot of that in reading the synopsis of this, but like the Real Housewives with guns, which is always, that's a great combination, I guess. So that's going to be May Cobb's The Hunting Wives. The last book is a book that I got Craig for Christmas a year ago. I think it was a year ago. It was on his wish list, and I was like, well, I might as well get it for him. But I don't think he's picked it up or cracked it open since then. That is A Haunting of Henry Twist by Rebecca John. Another probably heavy book about grief. So he's going to have his choice of grief, especially over like the holiday season. So we'll see how that works out. But maybe he can pick one of the three. But yeah. So he he said some glowing stuff about this book and wanting to read this book so much. So now he can do that. So a year later, he can crack this open. So those are the books. Let me kind of go back. So we have The Haunting of Henry Twist. We have The Hunting Wives by May Cobb. In My Dreams, I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. T.J. Klune's Under the Whispering Door. My favorite, V.C. Andrews, Flowers in the Attic, also with original cover. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. We have Rachel Harrison's The Return. Lily King's Writers and Lovers. I think he's going to pick this book. A double team of Amy Gentry's Last Woman Standing and Bad Habits. These would be my picks for him. If I had to pick his TBR, those two would be on there. And then last but not least is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. So those are the 10 that I chose for Craig. I hope he enjoys a few of them. Many that I have already read, so I'm excited to talk to him about those. So there's that. If you have any thoughts or any questions about any of these books, please put those questions or thoughts in the comments below. Remember to subscribe to our channel, Shelf Possessed. I am David. Thank you so much for sharing this with me. We'll see what Craig thinks about these in another video, and I hope you guys come back for more. And that is it for today. So thank you so much. I'll see you soon.